you begin to realize maybe we're closer to all this than we imagined.
The Labor government aren't the only ones feeling heat over this hunger strike.
So, you represent Clark?
No, we're not filming nothing, mate.
I'll see you outside.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're mates of media, eh? Get off it, you're trespassing.
The moment we arrived at Peter Spencer's property, Liberal MP Bill Heffernan was leaving, and he had little choice.
Well, go on, up. You've been asked to leave the property, mate. No. The owner has ordered you off. Go. Go.
That's right, no. You've been told.
For these farmers, Bill Heffernan represents the former Howard government and its role in implementing the legislation which they say has locked them from their land.
He was sitting on a ledge in Sydney, mate. He'd have been down ages ago.
They went to Kyoto to do a deal, unbeknown to the farmers, to lock up millions of hectares of land to meet the Kyoto commitment because they knew that the energy sector's emissions were going to grow.
The farmers are furious because other carbon polluters, such as the energy sector, have been massively compensated during a time that their carbon emissions have risen. At the same time, agricultural emissions have reduced, but farmers say they haven't received a cent, and they believe this is the thin edge of the wedge.
And yet they brought out this bullshit legislation to try and deprive landowners of their rights. Vegetation's only one. It was water, and it's going to be residential opportunity, it's going to be minerals.
Irrigation licenses.
Irrigation license. The bullshit never ends.
Why aren't the people rising up and saying, we are the people, and these politicians and public servants are our servants? We're not peasants. This is not an aristocracy. How come they're more interested in their football and their beer? Our liberty's only maintained by eternal vigilance. Let's not ever forget that.
Peter has lost 40 kilograms and the indignities of a hunger strike are many. He must urinate out a tube and deal with severe constipation.
It's a hard job to keep clean and I stink.
Oh, well.
I want a good wash, I want a good shit, and I want a good feed.
For Peter, jokes serve as a distraction to the real chance that his eternal vigilance could come at a very high price. So you're not afraid of dying?
Not really. I believe there's a lot more to life than this.
There's no question that with every new threat, new crisis, and consolidation of world resources, knowledge and currencies, our world moves closer to a one-world governmental system. This new system will not be a friend of Christianity or Judaism. Basic rights like the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the freedom to own land will disappear. Already today there are very powerful and influential people who dedicated themselves to seeing this come to pass. I have no doubt that it will, and soon.
The eugenics movement has now shaken off much of its Nazi baggage and is using people's legitimate concern about the environment as a cloak to conceal their real agenda. Everyone wants to breathe clean air and have good water, but the controllers of the environmental movement have done nothing but co-opt people's concerns and parlay it into support for global policies that further destabilize the third world and create untold misery. Phony environmental and conservation groups are now the biggest private landowners in the world. They lobby government to take property away from local populations, only to develop it themselves later. When the U.S. military dumps millions of gallons of nerve gas on the east coast of the U.S., they don't say a word. Thousands of companies are creating transgenetic cross-species hybrids, splicing plants, animals, and insects, and releasing the new organisms into the global biosphere, vandalizing the very genetic code of the planet. And large environmental organizations do nothing. The corporate elite of the planet intensified their push for a global taxation system with a year-long build-up to the Live Earth hysteria held on July 7th, 2007 on 7 continents. World leaders announced that saving the Earth was the new organizing principle for humanity and hailed it as the planet's new religion. They claimed that CO2, which plants breathe, was killing the Earth and that we must reduce the number of children we have to curtail our carbon footprint. Countries across the world marked the day by passing new carbon tax schemes and raising taxes on gasoline, natural gas, and electricity. It is a scientific fact that the sun is the main driver of planetary climate, and the measurements are clear. The sun is becoming hotter, brighter. It has been slowly increasing thermal output in the last 100 years, causing warming not just on Earth, but throughout the solar system. But the scientific facts and even the order of the planets didn't matter to one of the chief organizers of Live Earth, David Mayer de Rothschild, heir to the British arm of the Rothschild fortune, when we spoke to him. When I called Rothschild on the order of the planets, he just laughed, thinking the audience wouldn't get it. He continued to count on the population's ignorance and claimed that the global warming lobby has nothing to do with carbon taxes. I guess he hadn't spoken with his good personal friend, Al Gore.
Global warming, the time for debate is over. I think what you have to realize is that being environmentally sensitive and making money aren't mutually exclusive. There's a lot of money to be made in addressing this issue.
But you guys are gobbling up all the world's concern to just simply line your pockets and make kids read your book in schools and do all this. It's a business, just like you said, Rothschild.
It's not. Do you think I make any money out of this?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing your your money-changing ancestors did. They're in Germany, Red Shield, and I'm calling you out, Red Shield. We know it's a scam.
A pollution-based tax system, principally CO2. We're causing it mainly, vast majority of it. The consequences are bad and will be catastrophic unless we act.
The polar ice caps of Mars are receding at several miles a year, much faster than ours, and that the moons of Saturn and Jupiter are melting. In fact, several of their moons were ice and are now liquid seas. Now, how are SUVs causing that, David Rothschild?
That's because those planets are closer to the sun, my friend.
No, Jupiter and Saturn are not closer to the sun. Neither is Mars.
Yes, sir. I think you'll find, right, that the very simple matter, and what I wanted to say, and this is my final point, forget your taxation theory, because actually it's not taxation.
Put a price on the carbon. A tax is the best way. Cap and trade can also do it.
If there were a carbon-based tax, would there be a need for an economy-wide cap and trade system?
They are not either or. We can do both. I am in favor of both.
The architects of the New World Order are in a race to complete the structure of world government so they can suppress the independent development of technologies that threaten their monopoly of power.
If a one-world occult system comes into place, I believe we will entirely lose our freedoms to speak out, to worship freely as we will, to own property as we do now. I believe much of the world's property will be seized by the coming global government in the name of protecting the environment.
Put out this bullshit legislation to try and deprive landowners of their rights. Vegetation's only one. It was water, and it's going to be residential opportunity. It's going to be minerals.
Irrigation licenses.
Irrigation license. The bullshit never ends.
Why aren't the people rising up and saying, we are the people, and these politicians and public servants are our servants? We're not peasants. This is not an aristocracy. How come they're more interested in their football and their beer? Our liberty is only maintained by eternal vigilance. Let's not ever forget that.